Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the movie Some Like It Hot. Now, this was on like Turner Classic Movies kind of thing, so I kind of recorded it, and I was kind of confused by it. It's not that I completely and utterly outright hated it or thought it was a bad movie, but it made some very odd choices, even mainly on the channel, because it said that it was such and such length, but it had stuff of like people talking about the movie beforehand, and it didn't help that they kind of like spoiled stuff that was kind of going on within it, and I'm talking about like stuff that was kind of going on with the end. Now, they didn't completely come out and like blurt out the end, but it was enough to be like, alright, I kind of have enough of an idea of what's going to probably be going on with this, where I'm like, huh, oh, okay. So that primer, which was like about 7 minutes or whatnot, was like, alright, fuck this. If I've got this kind of going on, I'm just gonna fucking blitz through this and fast forward through it so I don't have that kind of happen again. And I didn't find it that funny. Most of the situations and everything that was kind of going on, I'm like, oh, okay, but maybe that's because I've seen most of these kind of situations done in other movies that just worked better for me. Now, if you're going on the time, I mean, this came out in 1959. It's like, all right, we've got Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon. It's like, okay, cool. Seeing what the big deal about Marilyn Monroe is, it's like, all right. This was the first one that I really sat down and watched. I was like, she's kind of just a ditzy blonde, and they're not really giving her good stuff to really sing. So it really didn't showcase her that well to me, which probably a lot of people would be like, why the fuck did you start there? It's like, that was the first thing that I'd like recorded, so I'm like going in order to kind of like get shit out of like my DVR kind of queue thing. So it's like, so that's kind of the rationale, and I'm probably like, yeah, this really wasn't the best kind of intro for me. There's some other ones that were like popping up because they just started like spamming Marilyn Monroe kind of things. I'm like, all right, let's see what's kind of going on here. So this is set in 1929 in Chicago, and we've got Joe as the jazz saxophone player, and Jerry is the double bass player. So we start off with one of the like craziest fucking chase sequences that I've seen, mainly because it looks fucking horrendous of what's kind of going on, as we got these people in a hearse trying to outrun the cops, and they're getting shot at and everything like that. They're shooting at the cops. We see things that's like, those people look like they probably got hurt if they worked stunt doubles or whatnot of what's kind of going on. I'm like, son of a bitch. But they drive pretty much to this funeral home, and like liquor is pouring out of the casket because they're bootleggers, boot runners. Prohibition still going on this point, so that's why they've got this going on. We get this like detective dude who is kind of important, but it's really kind of weird because he's going after this dude named Spats, and you were going to hear that name throughout the entirety of the fucking movie, just like because he wears spats on his shoes. And I was like, oh, so that's what those things are called. And I would have gotten it in the first fucking minute of just being called Spats. Like, oh, all right, fine. So the detective cop dude, whatever, kind of goes in. We see that the guys are playing in the band. They're being like, yeah, we're going to have enough to like pay our rent and stuff like that and get my tooth fixed and all that. It's like, no, we got to pay back a lot of people and everything like that. And then, of course, they kind of bust throughout the place. People running around. We see that they're kind of bucking off, and they're like, fuck, shit. So they pretty much go to these agencies looking for work for being musicians, and they're getting a whole lot of nothing, except they get turned on to that somebody is looking for their specific instruments and everything, but it's an all-female band. It's like, oh, okay, so we can't do it. So he tries to like borrow this car from this one woman that he kind of had a kind of date with, that he kind of blew her off, but then they're just tried to, because they did have this one kind of gig that they were trying to get to, utilizing her car. They even had to sell their overcoats because this fucking asshole, Joe, has an extreme stupidity of betting on dogs. Racing dogs, mind you. So they pretty much go and try to use her car. However, Spats decides to kill what's his name? toothpick dude. It's pretty much inspired by the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Mafia boss Spats Colombo taking out Toothpick Charlie. And then we see that they kill this one dude who's filling up the car as well. And they see them try to kill them. However, they're able to escape and decide to dress up as women. Now, Jerry did float the idea of dressing up as women and just playing in the band to get money because it's like 3 weeks in Florida. It's like, all right, cool. So they're doing this here. They're able to get on the train and everything and get out of there because they're trying to kill them. So it's like, all right. And they go as Josephine as Daphne. Let's see. And of course they befriend Sugarcane there. Marilyn Monroe's character. She's usually getting in trouble for drinking. She's almost 25. She's got problems with men. And it's like, all right. So Joe's pretty much linked up to her throughout the majority of the movie. Jerry kind of helps her out a little bit in this kind of train thing where they then stuff like all of these women. That's like the head woman's trying to pretty much like be like the head mistress, kind of like keeping them all in line, but they fucking have like a party in like Daphne's little thing. It's like, that's a lot of people like doing kind of pretty much just like drinking and stuff like that. Of course, prohibition at the time. That's why you're tried to keep that as secret as possible, even though they're just doing it wherever they want and bringing out like cheeses and salamis and shit like that. It's like, all right, as Daphne's trying to hide that he's a dude. But we see that Joe is pretty much linking up with her more, and that she is the vocalist and the ukulele player. They just don't really give Marilyn really good songs here. I mean, they're fine enough, but they don't really showcase much of her, like, I guess, range or whatnot. She just does a couple of singing kind of things, mainly on the train, a little bit on when they are in Florida. And that's about it. They don't really go complete musical numbers like another one that I'll talk about that I vastly enjoyed more. Even though it was more kind of musical, it didn't go completely overboard where it was like musical number after musical number. It worked. It knew how to pace itself. So they pretty much get down there. Sugar's like, I've sworn off saxophone players, which of course that's what Joe is. And his whole fucking idea is to pose as a millionaire to get with her. That isn't the stupid part, because he pretty much jacks the clothes of like the only male dude that's kind of... He's kind of like the assistant to the head person that kind of deals like and conducts the band when they're playing, but he just steals that stuff, and it's really kind of strange because he's working with Daphne, because Daphne gets set upon by this other millionaire dude who stays together with Daphne at the end. It's like, yeah, I don't care that you're not a woman kind of shit, which is kind of what screwed me over. And when I was like, oh, okay, it would have been nice to just kind of see that kind of happen organically, but all right. Because he kind of helps Daphne out with the instruments as they're kind of going on and going into the place. They play a little bit as what's kind of going on. We see that he presents himself as a millionaire. This works out in his favor because he's able to kind of like link it up with Daphne going with this other millionaire dude, taking him off of his yacht and going onto that yacht and trying to what you think is seduce Sugar. However, his whole idea of seduction is playing off that he has a mental block with women because the one kind of girlfriend he had died at the Grand Canyon. And then he's like, oh, I don't feel anything. Oh, I don't feel anything, as Marilyn Monroe's kissing the shit out of this dude. Who he's playing off as like a fucking like part of the Shell Oil Company family. I'm like, yeah, even back then, I know you don't have the internet, but you could like find that shit out pretty fucking right quick if you're seeing like the Shell people in any kind of news or whatnot. It's like, All right. Funniest part of that kind of bit is that Jerry and the millionaire dude, let me see, Osgood, it starts interspersing almost kind of like Family Guy style cuts. Like, you probably would have seen it before. Like, yes, this is probably where that kind of stuff came from, but it's very effective cuts to them kind of dancing and just doing kind of funny things. Him calling Jerry out for leading the dancing and then just having fun with it as they're kind of going on with it. He does try to get the motherfucker good, though, because we see that he tries to run up. No, motherfucker! What did I just do? There we go. In the room and trying to show Sugar that Joe's the dude and everything like that, but him like hiding in the bathtub with his full clothes on and everything like that. I'm like, okay. So this is pretty much what they're doing at this place before we get the very convenient 10th annual opera appreciation gala thing going on, which then brings Spats down to there, and they're like, ah, shit, as they eventually figure out that it's them as they're running around the place and trying to change into different kind of disguises to get out before we see that they are unable to catch them and that the head of the association, Bonaparte, it's pretty much just a mob front kind of thing, calls out Spats, kills him, and of course the guys see it again and is like, ah, fuck, even though they're under the table, bucking out again as they are attempting to more escape. We see that they try to link up with Osgood. Osgood gave this diamond bracelet to Jerry. And then Joe, in an interesting kind of compassionate kind of case, instead of like utilizing that to provide for themselves and kind of escape this kind of dangerous situation, which I would not blame them for, because that would be the more kind of prudent one. He actually is like, I gotta say goodbye to Sugar, so I'm gonna give her something. And I'm like, huh, that's at least an interesting kind of character development for him. But that's about kind of it, as we see that Sugar is then really depressed about that whole kind of turn of events and goes to drinking and stuff like that, as she's got the bracelet and all that. I was like, oh, interesting. We also see that Joe kisses her when he's made up as Josephine and kind of surprises her and everything like that. Let's see. So they pretty much just jump into the motorboat, which one of the funniest bits was that Joe was the millionaire kind of dude and could only drive the fucking motorboat in reverse. He didn't know how to fucking get it into, like, drive. It's like, that's one thing, because he drove it in reverse to the yacht and then drove it from the yacht back to the pier with that whole thing. It's like, all right, that was a little bit funny as they're kind of bucking off and him being like, yeah, I smoke and everything. Your mother won't ever, agree to me, you and me marrying each other, and it's like saying that he's a man. He's like, well, nobody's perfect, and Jerry's like, oh, all right, fine, whatever. And Sugar is all right with Joe being a sax player and everything like that, since that's pretty much her type, and that's about it. They really don't give much for the characters to kind of work on, and it feels kind of hodgepodge of like, all right, we got to get these guys, we're going to do the whole kind of making them dress up as women. We're going to link it to like a Valentine's Day massacre kind of thing and just kind of go with that amount. And they don't really give much for the characters to kind of work with. Jerry is dealing with the stupidity of Joe, pretty much almost consistently getting them into situations that threaten their lives. And it's like, all right, fine. Sugar is just, there's like really nothing there. It's just like, okay, ditzy blonde. Okay. Anything else? Looking for love. Alright. I'm gonna do anything else? No? Alright, fine. I hear about, like, Marilyn being an icon and stuff like that. This one just didn't showcase it for me. Now, other movie that I watched, that was a completely different matter, and I'm like, oh, okay, now I get it. Also, the costuming didn't seem to work, like, I wasn't really that impressed with it, but also it was in black and white, so the color, aspect is pretty much like gone from it, but just like certain kind of fits was just like, all right, that looks kind of weird. What's kind of going on here with costume? It just threw me off. I was like, all right, fine. So I mainly didn't really connect with the characters that much because they didn't really give much of it. And so I was like, they gotta dress up as women to avoid getting killed. I was like, all right, can we mine any kind of more situations on this? Because other than the train, they kind of almost just have it more in the background until you see certain kind of like little gags, mainly that's focused on Jerry and the millionaire, more than anything that's kind of going on with Joe and Sugar. So, I would only recommend this if you're deep into Marilyn Monroe and really want to see like all of her movies, but other than that, this probably was like the worst one. I don't know, like, what her other kind of filmography is, if there's a kind of worse movie for you to kind of like get into it, but it's just like a lot of other different things that kind of popped on this to make it be like, I'm not really into it. So those are my opinions on the movie. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.